Welcome back, everybody. This is IGN at Gamescom. I'm Max Scoville. One of the biggest new developments in the world of tech and gaming is Google finally throwing their hat into the gaming ring with Stadia. Here to tell us about it is VP of Product John Justice, and here to ask lots and lots of questions, Tina Meany, Brian Altano.
Hello.
So, Stadia, streaming gaming from Google.
Yeah, it's something that we've been working on for a really long time. Had to make sure that the tech was ready to let everybody have a really good experience, and now it's here. So we're hands-on here at Gamescom. We have thousands of people who are trying it now. We're showing Mortal Kombat 11 and Doom Eternal, since those are some of the hardest games to make feel great. And so what better test to show it off?
Are you doing the Coke test, though? Is this on Stadia, or is this on another platform?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Pepsi challenge?
We aren't Pepsi challenging it here, but a lot of people are doing side-by-side kinds of things. And if you haven't tried it, come try it. It's pretty great.
Now, something I'm curious with sort of obviously the goal here is to have seamless, no latency, just feels like just normal gaming.
Yeah.
Should be. Do you see like a sort of reluctance or skepticism from developers who make faster-paced games versus like maybe a turn-based or slower game? Like obviously Doom and Mortal Kombat are two of the fastest games out there.
Yeah. We did back before people could try it and see it. People wondered about it, and then they saw there are things that we can do to speed it up on where we run it that let us make it as fast, and in some cases faster than you can by buying a console. And so that's a pretty cool thing. So as soon as people see it, then they start talking instead about, hey, what can I do with it? What's possible only in cloud? And that's a pretty cool conversation to have.
Well, you just stole one of my questions, because I was going to ask you, especially with multiplayer games. What is possible with cloud? Can we possibly see a future with like 1,000-player servers and crazy battle royale games? Like,
totally.
What are we going to do with this thing?
Nothing to announce today, but the ideas people are playing with and trying are pretty mind-blowing. They're all things that you could never fit on a console, you could never fit on even a gaming PC at home. So giant worlds, better artificial intelligence, because we can add AI chips for NPCs, those kinds of things. You'd never be able to get those at home, but we can get those up on our servers. And we're constantly upgrading the servers. So right now, our machines, they're faster than anything you can buy in a console by a pretty good chunk, but we're already working on the next and the next and the next, because we constantly upgrade.
I was going to say, gamers are inherently collectors, right? Like we hoard and gather things. We've seen physical media disappear over the last 20-something years.
Yeah.
That's been hard at first because we had cool game cases with like inserts and color manuals. Now we all have digital libraries.
Right.
Moving into Stadia, we kind of don't even have that, right? They're sort of stored somewhere else. So what does it look like when you start to build out your library on Stadia?
It's pretty much the same as anything digital today, except you don't have to wait for the downloads, you don't have to wait for the updates, and it's faster and better. So I mean, it's I think beginning of the last generation, I was getting things on disk, mostly on disk. But by the end of it, I just didn't want to be bothered. And so I would get everything digitally. And I just liked that convenience of having that. Now that I'm spoiled by playing on Stadia, I don't want to go wait for it to download, wait for it to update. I just want to play right away and on any screen. So great. The TV, someone wants to use the TV, fine, I'll pause it, I'll go move to a laptop and keep playing, or I'll do anything there. I don't have to wait for any kind of setup.
So speaking of that library, I'm curious, like, you guys just had a couple announcements right before Gamescom kicked off proper. You had your digital presentation of a couple more games that are coming to Stadia, and one exclusively. So what are you guys thinking of when you're thinking about the partnerships and in terms of how you want to grow that library? I mean, obviously, like every game ever made, probably, but you're repping Cyberpunk right now. So what are you guys thinking when you're building that slowly?
Well, I'm excited about Cyberpunk, but we're out there, we're really bringing everything in. So when you see us, we're going and working with everybody. You'll see a lot of logos up there of people who we're working with. And so you can expect that we're going to bring all the things you'd expect to have on all the platforms. And then after that, the stuff that we're working on and will be building, that's where you're going to get even more of the things that are only possible in the cloud.
Now, you mentioned like not having to wait for downloads. I think that's sort of an amazing thing in terms of the day-to-day, but also the practicality of being there at a midnight launch or waiting for the timer to kick in.
Yeah.
Is that something you guys are targeting to sort of, when a game unlocks with everybody else, you're sort of you could potentially be the first system to be able to play it?
That's one of the extra bonuses that you get. It makes it easier for us to go do things like bring people in on a beta or in testing at different versions or on doing those kinds of instant launches. All that's possible. So we're now starting to see developers talk to us about how they can bring it into their gameplay too, which is kind of cool. I think we'll see some ideas there in the next year that we'll talk about later. But the interest from the developers all up's been huge. We've got thousands of developers right now who've all applied to go put games on the platform. We have hundreds that are currently active that we're working with right now. We have our next batch ready to announce that we're getting already, even after this Connect, and so they'll just keep coming.
How was the sort of pre-announcement reception from developers compared to sort of post-launch? Because obviously, once you kind of get out there and you blow the doors wide open, let the cat out of the bag. You kind of there's more sort of sizzle to that. But when Google calls you on the phone, and you're like, "Hey, we're working on something." Was there confusion over it? Was there disbelief?
At first, there was, but that was before people tried it. A lot of people were skeptical, just saying, "Hey, I really want to try it," and that's okay. It's something new. It's something different. Once they tried it, things were a lot better. A lot of people got to try it at GDC who hadn't tried it before in the game development side, and so that really moved it. And so we don't really have conversations anymore around, is this going to work or can this be great? Instead, it's about, okay, when are different things coming? And we work with them a lot on things like cross-play, cross-progression, making sure that you can play across all the platforms. We think that's really important for next gen, that we just be open. That's a very Google approach. And so we work with them on things like that now.
So you mentioned crossplay. Is that a conversation that a lot of developers are interested in? And like, what's the progression of that? How's that been going?
They are. So the developers are usually pretty excited about it. They see it's good for players. We see it's good for players. We think that's a core piece of next gen. We just don't think we should have the kind of walls that we've had in the past. That's something that I think slowly the platforms are coming around to. And so, but with enough push from us, enough push from the developers, I think we'll get there. It'll just take a little bit of time.
Yeah, just got to get everybody on board.
Yeah, but we want it for everything. We want every single title to be on here with cross-play and cross-progression.
Now, obviously, you guys have multiple options in terms of how to get into this. One of them involves the controller that Max held up earlier. I want to hold it again because it's really good. Like it's. And I haven't played a video game with it yet.
Here,
but
let's get a close up of this.
Yeah, just actually playing it is it's really, really good looking. So
it is hard to get a controller to be great. I'm a keyboard nerd. I have 10 different keyboards with custom switches and all that kind of stuff, and I care a lot about that. We had to work on these for years and years. We had hundreds of prototypes. But when you feel something like on the D-pad, just like the collapse there on the dome switches, it's really hard to get that to be just right and let you roll combos, for instance. So we had to work really hard to get that to be great. The grips, that kind of rounded grip that you have, that's something that we did on purpose because that lets you do claw-style grips, it lets you do standard grips, it works across a whole variety of hand sizes really well. And we'll talk more about this stuff later, but we had one of our head designers actually worked on knife handles and used knife handles because chefs use different grips for different ways that they hold them. And we needed to make sure that we had that kind of comfort and all-day comfort that would work here. So that's what led us to the design we have.
Yeah, I really like the face buttons. They feel nice and soft. The D-pad's clicky. The sticks are really smooth. The shoulder buttons are great. This is like, honestly, to be completely transparent, when I first saw this controller, like pictures of it, I was like, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical about that. But now I'm holding it, and I'm completely sold on this controller. This is a good piece of tech. Thank you.
That's great. Yeah, we have 3 of them here. We don't have the special Founders controller, so we have a special, that limited edition one that we're doing just this year, and that's for Founders. We let you get that night blue version. That's pretty cool.
Now, John, we see. I know you're obviously dealing with a lot of indie developers because they're always attracted to like a new platform. Have you seen any sort of developers excited about the possibilities of using Stadia? They always want to, indie devs get a little bit weird. They want to mess around with new tech. What kind of possibilities are sort of possible with this? That could get weird.
Well, let's see. There's the whole range. There's a lot of stuff where people are looking at today, looking at things like how do you plug into YouTube. We see games. Some people are looking at how can they make their games more watchable or make it so that people watching the games can interact with them in fun ways. We think that's kind of cool. It's interesting when you start thinking about YouTube as a multiplayer lobby, where you might invite your friends to watch you play and then they can jump in and play with you. It's just even a private thing. That's kind of cool, just what you can do in that direction. So there's that whole side. And then there's on gameplay, what can you do when you have gigantic servers that are constantly getting better? So huge machines that can handle the thousands of users, or natural language processing that can get you realistic voice conversations, because that's tech that we have at Google, and we can make it available to the game developers. So the indies we're talking to and the big folks, they're exploring kind of, okay, what can I do next, and what's going to be the most fun for the people who play my games? Because that's what it's all going to come down to, how to make the games the most fun.
Yeah, you were talking about how now is the right time. I'm sure you guys have theoretically been talking about this for a while, but you wanted to wait until technology was ready, and I wanted to ask you what that meant, but in a lot of ways it's also cultural. It's this whole kind of expanse of this like YouTube generation that you're talking about, where it's very suitable for that kind of a bigger, expansive experience.
Yeah, we had to make sure on the tech side that we could deliver an experience that be at least as good as what you could go buy in a console. And so we had to get there. That had to be a bar. And so for us, we had to go make it so that there's no perceptible latency, that we could make the quality higher. That's why the servers they're huge. They're just so much bigger than you can get in a console. We had to have that, and we also had to have internet connections be good enough across the world and across the countries that we're going in. And so they keep getting better, and so now we're at a place where most people can play and most people can get a good experience. And so that's something that gets better every month too. It gets better with the ISPs and the telcos are moving forward. 5G is coming. And then on our side, we're making it so the games take less and less bandwidth. So, when we had Assassin's Creed Odyssey, we did a test of that in Project Stream. I don't know if you got a chance to play that last year, but that took about 25 megabits per second to get a great 1080p experience. We can do that now in down to 15, even down to 10 sometimes, because we're just getting better at squeezing the stream at the same level of quality and upping the quality. So we keep driving that side down on Google's tech, and then we're working with all the networks to make it really good on the edge. And the combination of those two means we can reach a lot of people.
Great. Well, I'm dying to check that out when it's out in the wild. It's here at Gamescom for people to get their hands on. We have so much more coming out of Gamescom. We've got to take a quick break right now. We'll be right back.